Welcome to 365 Brothers. I'm your host, Robin Shine. This podcast introduces you to Black men from across the United States, their wisdom, their experiences, their joys. It also shares some of the triumphs after diversity. Basically, this podcast is about the humanity of Black men, just as it could be about the humanity of women, of white, of brown, of yellow. I focus on Black men in this podcast because of the statistics, the facts that Black men are more likely to be stopped by the police without a justifiable cause. Now, if you're questioning that, this podcast is the place for you to be. I ask each man the same 11 questions, and one of them asks about their interactions with law enforcement. The point of that question is to show the commonality in who is stopped, regardless of profession, regardless of age. The other thing is to just share the diversity of experiences of Black men outside of what you see on TV, in movies, outside of the stereotypes and the tropes. Now, if you're wondering, it is a subtle process. So don't just listen to one episode. I recommend listen to 5. When you listen to at least 5, you get it. You will truly get it. And after that, you'll either be hooked or not. But this is a 5-episode minimum, so get ready, get comfy. This is 365 Brothers. Welcome. Today, we're speaking with a young man from the Green City, Cleveland, Ohio, and he is pursuing a master's in psychology. And I am delighted to introduce you to Alexander Mayweather. Welcome, Alex.
Hello.
I guess first I'd like to ask you, is there anything that you'd like to share about yourself with the listeners so that they can get to know you better before we go into the question?
I'm happy to be here. We'll start with that. And that I actually have a brain infection. It's called PML, which is progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy. Try to say that 3 times fast. But it affected the white matter in my brain, which caused me to be paralyzed on my left and my right, my left and right arm and leg.
Okay.
So I've been dealing with that while trying to live a normal life, go to school, just be as normal as possible through a wheelchair.
For how many months or years have you been dealing with this?
It's been a year now.
Okay. And if you don't mind my asking, what was there a particular cause? Because I know nothing about, I've never heard of what you just described, PML.
Most people don't. It's something that we're all born with. They call it the JC virus in our bodies. It's just most people's bodies can fight it off. Once your body becomes like immunocompromised, so like say through like some cancer treatment, which is what I had to go through, or anything that could put your immune system down, then that virus is able to take over your brain, which caused all the issues that I have now.
You were being treated for a cancer?
Skin cancer.
Okay. And wow, I'm sorry. I hate to say, people always say, I'm sorry to hear that. And I know that, no one wishes anyone to have to go through anything negative. And yet we all have whatever we go through. How are you, because when I've talked to you, you just sound committed to what you're creating next. And what is it that you draw on that keeps you so focused and moving forward?
I've always been a fighter. It's hard to knock me down. I have great friends. I have great family. I have a pretty good support system. So That's
I'm
very
glad to hear. Oh,
like
I'm glad to hear that.
like that.
So what's the prognosis? How long is there a treatment, or how does that, do you, is this something that you manage for a lifetime, or is this something they treat and then you work toward your recovery?
It doesn't go away. Pretty much, they can do is stop the progression of it, but
Mm-hmm.
they can't really get rid of it. Once it's there, it's there. The damage that it's done, it's done. So I'll probably be, unless we have divine intervention or something, I'll probably be paralyzed for the rest of my life, which is fine. I'm okay with that.
Wow. I'm impressed by your attitude. And I, well, it's funny because, what else are you going to do? Am I saying that most people would whine, complain, and give up? I don't know what they would do, but I am still inspired by how you are managing it.
Thank you. Nobody will let me give up. I tried. Trust me, I tried. Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
you're not going to do that on my watch.
Okay. That's the beauty of a good support system.
Right.
Well, anything else you'd like to say about yourself before we go into the questions?
That's the coolest thing about me right now.
All right, then. So let me ask you, what's your favorite song now or all time, and why?
That's a good question. That's the question that I think I was telling you that was going to be a doozy when I first looked at it. But if I had to choose my favorite song or fall and die right now, I'll have to
Hmm.
say Gravity by John Mayer. It just has some great memories attached to it.
Ooh, like what?
Just like, being with friends, it calms me down when I'm like stressed out. Like throughout the entire time that I spent in the hospital, that's what I played like over and over again.
Mm. So it's inspiring for you.
Yes, something like that, and anything Brian McKnight. Mostly because that's one of my mom's favorite artists. So like most of my memories hearing Brian McKnight is with her.
Okay. You're in good company. I've had a lot of brothers that one of their favorite songs has to do with something that they have fond memories of listening to, either with their parents, like, sitting around together, or it's just something that they constantly heard in the background of their childhood.
Right, that's pretty much where my songs come into play.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you. Let me ask you about a favorite childhood memory.
I went to SeaWorld with my parents when I was younger, and that's one of my favorite memories because my parents got a divorce at a young age. Like for me, it was a young age. So
Mm-hmm.
like that was one of the last times I remember us all being together.
So which SeaWorld did you go to?
With the one, I think there was one here at one point.
When I was a kid growing up, I thought the only one there was in the whole world was the one in San Diego. I was a grown adult when I realized they had them all over the place, but I did not know that they had a SeaWorld right there in Cleveland,
Yeah, it was one here in Ohio somewhere. Obviously,
somewhere in Ohio.
I just know
Yeah,
I still have the picture, and my mom, she looks at me funny. Why do you still have the picture? And I said, well, I don't know. I just keep it. But I don't
yeah.
tell her like that. That was one of the last memories I had with us all together.
Oh, okay. And why don't you want to share that with her?
Um, I just don't.
Okay. My next question is about accomplishments. And I asked this question in two parts. So the first is an accomplishment that means the most to you personally. And then the second part is an accomplishment that others seem to go, oh, or wow. So let's start with the first. What is an accomplishment that means the most to you personally, Alex?
The most to me personally is actually making it through 3 months of hospital treatment. And like after finding out I had PML, the skin cancer, like that was one of my biggest accomplishments because I almost gave up. Like I literally almost.
Yeah.
Being able to say that I Beat death by the skin of my teeth. That's one of my biggest accomplishments.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a decent one. Just being funny. Yeah, that's a huge one indeed. And you've already talked about kind of, the support system that you have and all the things you've drawn on. What's an accomplishment that is the one that others go, oh, or wow?
Winning my golf trophies. A lot of people don't know that I used to be able to play golf really, really well. And I actually
No
won
kidding.
the trophy from a golf course that was here over by me. That's one
Wow.
people usually don't. Right, people usually don't take me for a golfer, but
So how did you get into golf? I'm curious. You and I both know that's not a common sport for African Americans. It's not that none of us do, but it's just not common. So how did you get into golf?
my mom, she spent a lot of time working at golf courses, and I spent time trying to figure out which sports I like. I tried basketball, football, that didn't fit me. None of the
Hmm.
sports fit me. So my mom was like, "We're gonna get you some golf clubs."
So Alex, what's your favorite quote, saying, metaphor, or book?
My favorite quote is "Shoot for the moon," because even if you miss, you'll hit a star. It's from I think the first time I seen it was in that Shel Silverstein book, A Light in the Attic. People will correct you if I'm wrong, but
What's the name of it again?
Shel
You
Silver Shel Silverstein, A Light in the Attic.
okay? And what is something in your life that is, you embodying that?
Everything I do, I aim big because I know if
Hmm.
I don't accomplish it, I'll accomplish a bunch of little things in between time.
Right. Well, here you are, only a year or so dealing with PML and already planning to go back to school in January. You're going back to school in January. That's that is someone who is like, what barrier? What problem? I love it.
Right.
Now I'll ask, is there a person, conversation, moment, or event that stands out as either changing the trajectory of your life or having a significant impact on your life?
My mom told me once that I didn't have anybody to fear but my parents and God. And after
Uh-huh.
that, you couldn't tell me anything else. I never worried about anything that anybody had to say about me. I never cared about what people thought about me. It was all about making myself happy. Cause like
Mm,
she told me I didn't have anybody to fear but my dad, and God. So as long as they were fine with me, I was fine with me.
I like it. A lot of people don't take those words to heart and live by them, but you did.
I had to. I got bullied a lot in high school, so I really had to take it by heart. I really had to take it to heart, or let it kill me. It was one or the other.
Can I ask you, was there something that you felt increased or was a favorite point for bullies?
I've always been like real skinny, had a high pitched voice. My mom always had me dressed in corduroy sweaters, real nice clothes. While all the other kids were running around in like baggy jeans and forces.
Got it. I mean, in some ways, you've kind of described the most coming of age movies that deal with that. So, yeah.
Definitely, right.
What is a moment or event that highlights your experience as a Black man in the United States?
My mother actually teaching me about racism and how it affected other people, especially me, because I grew up in all white schools. I grew up with a lot of, white children. I was usually the only black kid in my class, so I always had the white friends to say, "Oh, well, I have a black friend. I'm not racist. I have a black friend. I'm not racist." And I was always the black friend.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, she kind of had to teach me, like, Alex, no, like certain things you cannot allow. And I actually had this kid, literally, we got off the bus. He stood on top of my book bag, smacked me in the face, and said, "I own you, nigga." And I was
What?
stuck, frozen. Yeah. I was just stuck, frozen until I looked, and I looked at all my other friends, and they looked at me, and I said, "That's not right. He shouldn't be saying that to me." Couldn't tell you why I felt that he shouldn't have said that to me because I wasn't really educated on that at the time, but I just knew it was wrong.
How old were you?
Um, I had to be like 8 at the oldest,
Yeah. Huh.
and he was a close friend of mine. That's what threw me off.
Yeah.
We had grew up together, played video. I went to his house every day, played video games. And then like his parents, I never knew this at the time, but his parents would say, "Oh, well, we're about to eat dinner, so you can either go home and come back or you just have to wait outside." One day I told my mom that, and she was like, "If I ever see you standing outside again, I'm going in their house." I never understood why until recently. Like I didn't know that that was something that they used to make black people do. They couldn't eat
Right.
with the regular families. They had to like not the regular families. They couldn't eat with the white families. They had to eat.
Right. Right. The back door or yeah, outside, separate this, separate that.
That was on them.
Wow. And is it all right if I ask how old are you now? I think you said 29.
Yes, I'm 29.
So this if you were 8, this is only 20 years ago. This is right around the year 2000.
Right.
You know, and I know some people hear me being shocked and they're like, why is she acting shocked when, that's the whole point of this podcast is to point out that racism is still alive and, bias is so prevalent. And yet, it doesn't matter that I know that when I hear someone's personal story, it's,
It's still shocking because
it is still
everybody has a
shocking.
different story.
It is still shocking. And, I know maybe it shouldn't be, and maybe when I get to 365, it won't be. But for now, it's still shocking, especially because I guess maybe what stands out for me is the term, I own you, which is it just, harkens so directly to slavery as opposed to, you know, I could imagine somebody laughing at me quibbling over being told you're less than me, you're, this versus you're, I own you. But still, there's just, I appreciate you being willing to share that story. Thank you so much.
Of course, anything I could do to bring light to such a nasty topic.
Yes. And I'm curious, so you mentioned that the other friends that, after he said this, they kind of stood around. Did they say anything to that child?
No, because we were all young. We just all knew
Oh,
it was wrong.
you know what? Yeah, I appreciate you saying that because all of a sudden I really get, because when I heard it at first, I heard it like an adult hears it. And you know how an adult hears it. We want to go hurt somebody. And at the same time, though, not that it's any less negative, but I do get that, that uh, I remember someone, I grew up and, I've never actually shared this story with, for sure not on this podcast. I don't even know if many of my friends or family know this, but my family joined the Nation of Islam for a brief period in the 70s. And so I had gone to just a regular, elementary school. And I was there kindergarten, first and second grade. And I was taken out and sent to, my mom and stepdad sent me to a Muslim school for a few years. And there are two friends, which I won't even say their names, but there were two girls that were like, they were my best friends. We did everything together at school. And when they found out that I was leaving, one of them said, they both confronted me. And I remember one of them said, I heard you going to some Muslim school. And one girl was Black and one was Latino, and actually I won't even bother to say which was which, but one of them kicked me in my ear. Like, she was standing on a bench and she just hauled off and kicked me in my ear. Hurt so bad. And I remember thinking, gosh, we were best friends, and now just because I'm going to this school, like, not just we don't like you anymore, but actual violence. So
I don't know why kids. I don't know why we're either really nice to each other or we're extremely mean.
And so I shared that story just to say I do get that, because on the one hand, it was ridiculous that she did that, but on the other hand, I also get that she was simply parroting something someone else had said.
Right, and now that you said that, it makes sense as to why we're either extremely nice or extremely mean. Because usually it's something we see.
I'm just over here shaking my head. If you look at any baby, any baby, any baby, I'm talking up to 3, 4, 5 months, they don't want anything except to laugh. And if they figure out that they can make you laugh, they like to do that too. But
Exactly.
somewhere along the way, they learn to, they just learn these behaviors, and hate is learned just like, everything else. And so as soon as you said that story, it's like, obviously he must have finally understood something he was hearing at home. Something landed in a way that he finally got, oh, somebody told us we're better. And okay, I'm going to act that out tomorrow. So anyway.
Someone in my later life told me he must have seen Roots or something for the first time.
Oh, and that's a possibility too. Although, in all honesty, hearing the story about the food and the meal, like wait outside or whatever, I mean, either he saw something for the first time or he got something. But what we can all agree on is something got into his head, and all of a sudden
something clicked for the first time.
Exactly, and some distinction was made. And I love that we are talking about that, just because there is some moment, and maybe people don't remember when that moment happened, but I promise you, anyone who has hate for another group, for another race, they either something happened to them or they overheard and took on someone else's hatred or behavior or viewpoint. It's not natural for us to simply hate another member of our species for no reason. Like something gets in the way of love.
I'd say that was the first time I realized that I was actually different from the white kids and the other kids that I went to school with. I knew that I was different than everybody else.
Do you have any recollection of like how that changed for you going forward in school? You may not.
So it didn't really change anything about how I treated people. It just changed how I thought other people would treat me. So I didn't go into it expecting the same treatment that I would give other people.
Right. And that's the other side of it. Like right now, if you're an educator, they're using the word trauma a lot. In the old days, we just call them emotional scars or whatever. But, now the phrase is the traumas, because we do now realize that they are lasting impacts that affect how we learn and all this other stuff. But those kind of events, they are a type of trauma for some people. For some people, they're not. Like for some people, they're just like, dang, that's stupid. And they move on. And it's not a trauma. But for some people, it can have that effect. Anything else you wanted to say before I go to the next question?
No, that was it. I'm glad we got to actually talk about that, though.
Yeah, me too. Have you had any interactions with law enforcement? And if so, when or what?
Like negative interactions with law enforcement? No, not really.
Yeah.
I used to actually date a Cleveland police officer. He let me know that I would be, treated differently And, I need to be careful in the things that I said and did. So I always kind of made sure that I stayed on my toes when the police were around.
Okay, got it. Got it. And was he African American or no?
No, he was not.
Uh-huh. Okay, cool. I
This
got you.
time actually dating outside my race. I don't regret it, but let's just say I did it and I won't do it again.
Actually, here's a little side. My uncle Don, I interviewed, his episode aired, I think, a couple weeks ago. Anyway, he goes, some people are cats and some people are birds. And I said, what? And he said, you look at a cat. Cat doesn't care what kind of cat you are. Calico, tabby, Persian, and he named some more. He said, if you a cat, cat's in heat, they with you. Now, a bird, a robin doesn't want to be with anything but a robin. A finch wants to be with a finch.
Right.
And he says some more. He goes, now me, I'm a bird. And he said, and it was funny because he goes, and his two sons, one of them is married a Dominican and the other one married I don't remember if she was white or something else. But anyway, he goes, now you and my sons, y'all cats.
That's good. I'm gonna have to use that. You actually
Yeah.
got to meet the person that I was dating. That's who popped in the camera really quick.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
Yeah,
that's to this day.
nice. All right. If the United States was a woman, whether mother, lover, sister, friend, neighbor, stranger, whatever, and she was someone with whom you could speak, what would you say to her?
Are you okay? I feel like a lot of times we don't ask women, are they okay? We just expect them to be, we just expect them to keep pushing through all the crap that we throw at them. And I see as the United States, we throw a lot of crap at it. And
Mm-hmm.
nobody just takes time to make sure that the United States is okay. Everybody's so worried about themselves and
Mm,
what they can get from other people. They forget to just stop and see, like, are we okay? Like, what's going on?
yeah. I sigh because I think about, you and I are talking just a few days after they declared Biden president elect. And without getting to any particular political views, you know, as a nation, there's something to be said. We like to be able to take for granted that it's functioning, you
Right.
know? And when you say what you would say to the United States right now, that is kind of a background for me as I'm listening to what you said. And I'm like, yeah, it is important to check and make sure she's okay.
I just feel like I ask a lot of my friends when they say, "Oh, I'm having a long day." First thing I'll ask is, "Are you okay?" If I'm messaging my boyfriend or something, not he's saying he's not messaging me back right away. Instead of getting angry, I'll ask, "Are you okay?" You never know when somebody is going. You actually ask if you're okay and what's going on.
Yeah. I right now what popped in my head was I hope everyone who listens asks someone, are they okay? That they might otherwise not think to ask them that.
Right. So just put this podcast on pause right now and text one of your friends and say, "Are you okay?"
Cool. I'm leaving that in. Thank you. That's great.
Of course.
What is love to you?
That's a good one. Love is an action. It's something you do to let another person around you or a group of people around you feel safe. Love is something that you can say it a million times, but it means something totally different when you show it. That's why I say it's an action.
What I hear you saying is there are demonstrable behaviors that evidence love.
Right.
Um, so now it's when I ask, what is something you've learned through your profession, training, experiences, or adventures that you believe more Black men should know?
It's okay to be different. It's okay to have feelings. It's just okay to be you. Whatever that you is, it's okay to be. A lot of times we're told It's not okay to cry. It's not okay to show feeling. It's not okay to do this. You can't be this way because, whatever, whatever. But it's okay that you can be that way. No matter if you're a small black man, tall black man, round black man, flat black man. It doesn't matter what type of black man you are. It's okay to own who you are.
Nice. For you personally, Alex, what did you get out of participating in this conversation?
I learned a little bit more about myself. I feel like every time I spend time talking about, myself and the things that have happened to me, I take something different. I learned that I've been through a lot, actually, that I'm stronger than I actually thought I ever was.
Beautiful.
That's all I got right now.
That was perfect.
I'll probably think of 1,006 things after we hang up that I could have said.
One of the things I like about you is you have it's a very subtle sense of humor. It's because the way you deliver it, it sounds like you're just kind of throwing something offhanded, like just a little end of a sentence, something. But if you're paying attention, you hear the humor, but it's very subtle. And I like that. It requires people to be present.
Right. I like that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I never thought of it that way. I just talk and try to be as honest as possible.
Yeah, it's a few times throughout the interview you say something, and I just started to notice that particular kind of humor, which is a kind that I like. I one of the beautiful things about being a teacher is I get to see all the different, you think about all the different kids that have come to my room. I've been in education for 30 years. So, there are so many different styles of being funny, and it's been it's one of the best things ever to be in a position where you get to hear people develop their different kinds of sense of humor. It's been fun. So, Alex, I not only thank you for taking the time to do this interview, but I thank you for being a demonstration of courage, power, and being unstoppable. Like, that is just who you are. And I can tell that it's not only how you live, but it's something that inspires others, and they give it back to you. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's just something that, when you're strong, you're giving it to your family and your friends. And then when you're not generating it for yourself, they feed it right back to you.
They do. They'd be like, "Oh no, not on my watch," and now something that I'll say to them a lot when they'll get sad, or they'll be like down on themselves or something. I'll be like, "Oh no, not on my watch." Now I notice, like, my friends that said the same thing back to me.
And that is what it looks like to create a community that supports us.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you for listening to 365 Brothers. I certainly hope you enjoyed the episode. I encourage you to subscribe. Please leave a review. I want to know what you think. Also, if you know someone who would be a fantastic guest for 365 Brothers, please direct them to our website, 365brothers.com. You'll also find all the episodes there, 365brothers.com. And your support is welcome. And remember, to listen is to love.